On these random things, I I sometimes just have random pictures on them. So this is a random picture. I'll type in random images and then I'll pick one to put on here. But the topics aren't really random. What does random mean? Huh? What? What does random mean? What? Arbitrary? Kinda. We'll talk more about that in a second. What does inflammable mean? Inflammable. What does inflammable mean? Huh?
Easy to angry.
Easy to angry? Easy to burn? Okay, what does flammable mean?
Not easy to burn.
No. We'll talk about those. Random can mean unpredictable, assorted, undistinguished, or items that appear in no particular order. And of course, these random PowerPoints I have, they're not really random. I picked different subjects to throw in there that students were interested in, but I couldn't fill up a whole hour talking about. But the pictures I sometimes throw in are kind of random. Flammable means something that can easily catch fire. Inflammable means something that can easily catch fire. They mean the same thing. Sometimes I don't know the answer to why, but you're lucky today I do. They used to write inflammable on things to let people know that they were flammable. I don't know, anything that's flammable. Gasoline, certain chemicals that you don't want to get near fire. So people would set them near fire, they would catch fire. Because in English, the prefix in often means the opposite of. So when people saw inflammable, they thought it meant not flammable. But inflammable comes from inflame, which means to catch fire. So inflammable was actually a word before flammable was. Then so much stuff was catching fire, they came out with the word flammable. Now most things that are inflammable or flammable now just have flammable on it to let people know that they'll catch fire. Because often, right, in put in front of something, it's going to mean the opposite, right? Okay. So they mean the same thing. All right, random image.
It's very interesting.
All right, what is America?
It's a country.
Country, you sure? A state? A place. Okay, what is South America?
A part of America.
A part of America?
On the south side of America.
South America is on the bottom there. North America is on the top. We'll talk more about that. How many countries are in South America? No. Less. Good guess. And thank you for being fast. Last class took 5 minutes. More. Huh? 13 less. More. More than 11. 12. What is the biggest country in South America? Yes, Brazil. Canada and Mexico are not in South America. Canada and Mexico are in North America. What languages are spoken in South America?
Spanish.
Huh? American? American English? Not really. Chinese, no.
You're very competent.
Now, don't get me wrong. There might be some Chinese spoken there, but it's not a national language. Yes, Portuguese, and what else? Yes, Spanish. Spanish and Portuguese are the two big ones. Because Spain and Portugal colonized that area. That's why also in the US and in Canada they speak English, because England colonized that area. America is not a country, but actually two continents. Right? So often people will say America, but what they mean is the United States of America, USA, right?
Yeah.
But that only takes up a part of North America. Canada is in North America. Mexico's in North America. There's 12 countries in South America. I think that started in the UK when they had colonies, right? And because the UK, they speak English, they started calling the colonies America. And after it became a country, they kept calling it America. But actually, America is two continents. So when people say America, they often mean the United States of America, the actual country. South America is a continent located near North America, basically south of North America. There are 12 countries in South America. And there are 2 territories belonging to other countries in South America. Brazil is the largest country in South America. You see how big Brazil is. It takes up quite a bit of South America. It's largest based on both the size and the population. So it's got the biggest size and the biggest population. Most nations in South America speak Spanish, but the people of Brazil speak Portuguese. Those are the 2 big languages, but there's others. Dutch is spoken in Suriname. The official language of Guyana is English, and French is spoken in French Guyana. So here's some countries. Now, I didn't mention Central America. There's more countries there. These are just South America. There's Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, Guyana, Paraguay, Peru, Suriname. I didn't know you wanted to repeat. Okay. No. Uruguay. Uruguay, not ugly. And Venezuela, and French Guiana, and the Falkland Islands. But those are not independent countries. French Guiana is part of France, and the Falkland Islands are part of the UK. Random image.
Rabbit. He's the rabbit.
All right, RHPS.
RHPS.
What does RHPS stand for? None of you will know. You'll have to look it up. I mean, you could guess, but you're never going to guess it right. A snack? No. 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 Religion? No. People? No. It's a movie. Last class, someone was able to find it. She was able to look it up. RHPS. All right, you're taking too long. What is it?
Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah, Rocky Horror Picture Show. And what is an audio vibratory physiomolecular transport device? Guess. What is an audio vibratory physiomolecular transport device?
Why did you say yes?
I said guess. What is it? What do you think it is? What does it do? What do you can't look it up. It's not real. Just what do you think it is? Give a guess, Crystal.
Tool.
A tool? What does the tool do?
Transport things.
Kind of. RHPS stands for the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Back when I used to teach in training schools, I would always do Halloween, and every Halloween we had a Rocky Horror Picture Show theme. An audio vibratory physiomolecular transport device does not really exist, but we can break down the words to discover the meaning, yeah? Yeah? All right, so what does audio mean? Audio. Yeah, sound. Vibratory. Actually, I would say vibratory, but the way they pronounce it in the movie is vibratory, audio vibratory. What does that mean? Okay, kind of. Right, something, usually like powerful machines, right? They vibrate when they're on, when they're working. They move. Physio. Water. Doctor? What? No. Physio is a root word that can go before something else. Okay, we'll get to it. Molecular. Particle, okay, good enough. Transport. Transport. Okay, deliver or move, let's say. Device. Tool. All right. Equipment. Let's look at these. Audio, hearing, or something that's heard. Vibratory, something that vibrates. Physio, related to nature or biology, physical functions. Molecular, the adjective of molecule. Transport, movement or shipping of an object, objects, people, or animals. And device is a tool or a machine. Basically, it's a machine that can move someone through space and time. It's not real. It's just in the movie. We're still talking about the movie. I just like that word to break it down. According to the character of Dr. Everett Scott, it's a device capable of breaking down solid matter and then projecting it through space and who knows, perhaps even time itself. So it's a time machine. All right. That's a very weird movie. It's a musical. It's very strange. If you like strange movies, check out the Rocky Horror Picture Show. All right, some random trivia. Who wrote The Raven? Who wrote The Raven? Who wrote The Raven? This is very easy to look up. Huh? Broken. Who wrote The Raven? Who wrote it? What? Try. Let's try. Try to say it. Edgar Allan what?
Allen
Poe. Edgar Allan Poe. How many hours does an elephant sleep?
4 to 5 hours.
Close. What European city did the Romans call Lutetia? Lutetia. So a city in Europe that 2,000 years ago in ancient Rome, they called it Lutetia. What city?
陆基
What city in Europe?
America
What?
Nadi
Rome? No. One more guess.
Paris.
Paris? Yeah.
Paris.
And can lions and tigers mate?
Mate.
Yes?
Mate.
No? Can they make babies? Yeah? No?
No.
No?
No.
Yes?
No.
No? It seems we're about half and half. We'll see when we get to it. Edgar Allan Poe wrote The Raven. Once upon a midnight dreary, as I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, as I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. It's a very long poem. Edgar Allan Poe is probably my favorite poet. Very dark. If you ever take a class on American literature, you'll probably read some Edgar Allan Poe. Elephants, on average, sleep about 4 hours a day. Giraffes also sleep about 4 hours a day. But koalas, on average, sleep about 20 hours a day.
Oh, he's a pig.
The koalas, they don't get a lot of energy. That's why they move very slowly and they sleep most of the time. Their diet does not give them energy. Lutetia is the ancient Roman name for the city of Paris. The Romans referred to the people and area that is now France as Gaul. And the ancient language of the Romans, Latin, is now a dead language. What is a dead language?
Nobody say.
Nobody speaks, because some people speak Latin, but nobody speaks it as their first language anymore, right? Some people learn it and speak it, but no one learns it as a child anymore, right? There's no culture that keeps Latin as their first language. Lions and tigers can breed successfully. If the father is a tiger and the mother is a lion, the offspring is called a liger. If the father is a lion and the mother is a tiger, the offspring is called a tigon.
Tiger.
Now listen, that bottom picture is Photoshop. That's not a real picture. But these animals can successfully breed. But they won't in the wild. They only do it in cages, right? When they're introduced to each other in captivity. In the wild, they would kill each other or run away. But they've successfully bred in captivity, really. But it's very rare. And in the wild, never. Because in the wild, they're enemies. But in captivity, they have done it. They have successfully bred them. And that bottom picture is Photoshop. It's not a real, not a real liger. All right. Random image. I think some of these are funny. She's just weird. All right. Some vocabulary. What is a hypocrite? Yeah.
伪君。哦。伪君子，就是
Liar? Not exactly liar. I mean, kinda. It could be a liar.
a person who profess breed and opinions is not hold in order to distinguish.
Maybe, but not. It's possible there's no moral standard, but maybe. We'll talk more about it. What does obsequious mean? Obsequious.
Attempting to win favor from influential people by flattery.
I don't like that definition.
Trying so hard to please someone.
Okay, I like trying to please someone better, but I like my definition even better. We'll get to it. What does involuntary mean? Huh? Involuntary.
Not subject to control of the will.
Okay, yeah. I like Candy's definition. We'll talk more about that. What does sacrilegious mean? Sacrilegious. What does sacrilegious mean? Huh? I can't. What? Holy? No. Not holy. Sacrilegious.
Religious. Non-religious.
No. What? Huh? Yeah, okay, that's closer, but not exactly. Huh? What? All right, we'll get to it. One more. What does clandestine mean? Yeah, pretty much. Hypocrite is a person given to hypocrisy, one pretending to have morals that he or she doesn't have, or one that tells people how to behave when he or she doesn't behave that way. So example, Jason is always smoking cigarettes, yet he tells me not to smoke. What a hypocrite, right? If you preach one thing but then do the opposite, then you're a hypocrite. But there would be a reason for someone who smokes to tell other people not to smoke, right? But technically, that person's still a hypocrite. Obsequious means subservient, fawning, giving complete compliance to the wishes of another. So, example, the cult members were all obsequious, doing anything their leader required. So basically, acting very subservient or slave-like. Involuntary means the opposite of voluntary. We talked about adding in to the front of words earlier, right? Done other than in accordance with the will of the person doing it. Example, I had to do the involuntary task of cleaning the office today because my boss ordered me to, right? So doing something without volunteering to do it. Also, you see involuntary muscles, right? Right now, I'm using my voluntary muscles, right? I'm choosing to do this. But other muscles like your heart beating, you don't choose it. It just works without you telling it to, right? Sacrilegious means going against one's religion, doing something that one's religion dictates as wrong. Example, murder is probably the most sacrilegious thing you can do. And of course, what is sacrilegious to a religion depends on the religion. Different religions have different beliefs and different things that they think are sacrilegious. Clandestine is an adjective that describes things that are secret or hidden without knowledge of most. We had to keep our meetings clandestine so that others would not find out what we were planning. So basically, clandestine is just a synonym for secret. Random image. I think this is funny. 100% of men didn't notice King Kong is on the picture. Why? 100% of men didn't notice King Kong is on the picture. Why? Because
the body is
men. Now this is a joke. Of course, some men maybe notice, but it's a joke because the men would look at the woman, right, and not notice anything else. All right, let's do some grammar. What is a noun? What is a noun?
What is a noun? A word that identifies a person, a place, or thing.
All right, person, place, thing, or idea. What is a verb? What's that? A movie. What?
Expresses an action.
Yeah, we'll just say it's an action. What is a gerund? Huh? Kinda. You're not wrong.
A word that functions as a noun.
Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about it. And what is an infinitive? What's an infinitive? Okay, yeah. We'll talk more about those. First, a noun, person, place, thing, or idea. A verb is an action. Usually, as there are verbs that don't represent actions, such as auxiliary verbs. And a gerund is a verb acting as a noun, sort of. A gerund may seem like a verb, but is actually representing a noun. Take the verb walk, add ing to it. The gerund is walking. When used, it is behaving like a noun, not a verb. Yeah? I'll show you why. Right? The verb in the following sentences is not walking. John is walking. The verb in that sentence is, right? John likes walking. The verb in that sentence is likes. John goes walking, the verb would be goes. Walking is not a verb there. It's a gerund, right? It's acting like a noun. So a gerund is just a verb plus ing. Once you put an ing on it, it's not really a verb anymore. It's a gerund, yeah? Which usually takes the place of a noun. An infinitive is basically a verb with the word to in front of it, right? It's similar to a gerund because it changes it to something similar to a noun. So let's look at some. Sometimes they could be used the same way, like that top picture. I like learning. I like to learn. They mean the same exact thing. Or I love walking. I love to walk. They mean the same thing. But down there at the bottom, those two things do not mean the same thing. I never remember to lock the door. I never remember locking the door. Those do not mean the same thing. What's the difference?
One is finish, one is going to finish. Want to finish. Want to do.
Okay, I never remember to lock the door. In that first one, is the door locked? I never remember to lock the door. Is the door locked? No. What about the next one? I never remember locking the door. Is the door locked? Yeah, or maybe. The first one, I never remember to lock the door. That means I forget to lock the door, right? The next one, I never remember locking the door. That means I cannot remember if I locked the door, right? I have no memory of locking the door. Maybe I locked it, maybe I didn't. But I have no memory of doing that, right? So they're a little different. So often, infinitives and gerunds can be used the same way, but sometimes they're going to change meanings. Yeah? Random image. All right. What is a quote? A sentence? A typical sentence? What's a quote? Huh? Cite? You mean like C-I-T-E? Kinda. All right, we'll talk more about it. Why do people quote others?
Want to get more benefit.
Benefit.
Profit.
Profit. There's multiple reasons. We'll talk about it. What is an anecdote? Huh? What? Definition.
Short narrative or an interesting, amusing, or biographic incident.
Okay, well, we'll talk more about that. Do you have any favorite quotes? Yeah, what's your favorite quote, Crystal? Never give up. Who said it? Who are you quoting? An old man. All right, let's talk about these. A quote is a recitation or written example of someone else's words while giving credit to the person who originally said it. Sometimes we call them quotations. Quote is short for quotation. People quote others usually to prove a point, show appreciation for a person or their words, or because they agree with what is being stated. Right? So sometimes you might quote someone you admire or like because you like that person, or sometimes you might quote someone you don't like, but you agree with the words they said there. To me, to quote people, quoting the actual meaning of the words, to me is more important than the person. If they have a strong, good meaning, I like them, and I'll quote them, even if I'm not that familiar with the person. An anecdote is a brief story told about a person with a truth to be learned, often about the character in the story who can be famous or not. It's basically a story with a point to it. So it doesn't always have to be true. Often we think anecdotes might be true, but there's a reason. They tell you this story, there's a reason, like a theme to this story, a reason they're telling you that story. All right, let's look at some quotes. The one who loves the least controls the relationship, by Robert Anthony. What does that mean? The one who loves the least controls the relationship. What does least mean?
What is this mean?
Huh? Okay, minimum, less, right? Less, right? I don't like her. I like her less. I like her the least, the most minimum, right? Least. So the one who loves the least controls the relationship. What's that mean?
He don't care. He doesn't care. He doesn't care.
So he has more control because he doesn't care as much, right? The other person has more to lose, right? He or she loves more, so they have more to lose, right? Therefore, they have less control in the relationship because the other person's going to more likely be in more control. I strongly agree with that. Now, it doesn't mean the person who loves the least doesn't love the other person. It just means they love them less than that person loves them. Then they have more control in the relationship, right? All right, it's easier to prevent bad habits than to break them, by Benjamin Franklin. It's easier to prevent bad habits than to break them. What does that mean? What does prevent mean? Stop something stop something before it even starts. So it's easier to prevent bad habits than to break them. What does that mean?
Don't have bad habits.
I mean, yeah, don't start them, right?
Yeah.
If Candy, do you smoke?
No.
All right, so do you want a cigarette? Is it easy for you to not have a cigarette?
Yeah. I don't.
I know, you don't smoke, so is it easy for you to not have a cigarette?
Yeah.
Yeah, very easy, because you've never had one, right?
Yeah.
So, but for me, it's hard, because
Yeah, because
I like to smoke, right? So what he's saying is the best way to control bad habits is to never start them, right? If you've never smoked, you don't have a problem quitting, right? If you've never gambled, you don't have a problem quitting. Good judgment comes from experience. Experience comes from bad judgment. Jim Horty, what does that mean? Good judgment comes from experience. Experience comes from bad judgment.
Practice is the mother of wisdom.
What?
Practice is the mother of wisdom.
Not so much about practice. There is another common way to say this, but I don't like that one. It doesn't quite fit.
So it means good judgment comes from bad judgment. Right?
It means learn from your mistakes, basically, right? Right. Learn from, right? Okay, you see a fire, right? It looks pretty, so you touch it, and that hurts. The next time you see a fire, you're not going to touch it, right?
Yeah.
So your experience of touching it, your bad judgment was to touch it. That gave you the experience. Now that you have the experience not to touch the fire, right?
Yeah.
Or someone borrows money from you. You go, okay, and they don't pay you back. Then they try to borrow money again, and you say, no. Right? You learned from the experience of the last time, right? If you look for the bad in people, expecting to find it, you surely will. Abraham Lincoln. If you look for the bad in people, expecting to find it, you surely will. What's that mean? Yeah, it means, well, first of all, it means don't look for the bad in people. No one's perfect. If you're trying really hard to find something bad about someone, you will, right? But why would you do that, right? Why don't you look for the good in people? You could also find that, right? So it's about attitude and expectations. It's about trying to find something bad in people. Yes, if you try very hard, you can find something bad about everyone, right? I like this one. Oh, what tangled webs we weave when first we practice to deceive. So, Sir Walter Scott.
What's this?
What's that mean? Oh, what tangled webs we weave when first we practice to deceive. Huh? There's probably more than one movie. This is an older quote. A lot of people attribute this to Shakespeare, but it wasn't Shakespeare. But what does this quote mean? I've seen one movie I can think of off the top of my head that has a lot to do with this. But what does it mean? What does tangled mean? Huh? Okay. What? Twist? Okay, yeah. Like if your hair is tangled, it's all messed up, right? Or wires can get tangled and messed up. So, oh, what tangled webs we weave when first we practice to deceive. What does deceive mean? Cheat? Cheat or lie? So basically they're saying, don't lie. Why should you not lie? Oh, what tangled webs we weave when first we practice to deceive, right? So if you got 3 friends and you're supposed to hang out with them, right? And then you tell one friend, or one friend, you say, I'm going to hang out with you instead of this guy, so don't tell him, right? And then you decide to flake on all of them, so you tell him, I went to bed early. You tell him, I went out with my girlfriend. And now, let's say they both come and talk to you at the same time, and you both told them different lies. When you tell the truth, all you have to remember is what happened. If you start telling different lies to different people, then you have to remember who you told what to, and it can become overwhelming and confusing, right? And sometimes, to keep up your lie, you have to continue telling more lies, right? But if you tell the truth, all you have to remember is the truth. If you tell lies, you have to remember who you lied, what lie you told them, if you told that lie to someone else, or if you told other people different lies. It's confusing, right? So it's easier just to tell the truth. And to be or not to be, that is the question. That's from Shakespeare. There's no,
To survive or to die.
yeah, there's no meaning to this one like the others. This one just means, it's Hamlet, it's from Hamlet. Hamlet's going through a rough time. He's saying, is it better to be alive or to be dead, basically? To be or not to be? Random image. I think that's funny. The people who were painting the road were too lazy to move the tree, so they just painted around it like that. Weapons. I had a student in Wuhan who wanted to talk about guns, so I made this section for him. What is a weapon? Just to attack people? What is a gun?
Boom, boom.
What is the difference between a handgun and a rifle?
It's short and it's long. Yeah, then
All right. What does caliber mean? I don't know if you'll be able to find it. We'll just move on and I'll talk about it. A weapon is a device used to cause harm or damage to living things, structures, and machines. People have been using weapons long before they have been recording their own history. So people have been using weapons before they learned to read and write. People have been using weapons a long time. A weapon can be considered a tool. Weapons might have been some of the first tools ever used by man. Primitive weapons can be spears, slings, or even just picking up a rock and causing damage with it. It could be a weapon. What is gunpowder?
boom.
Where was gunpowder invented? China? Yeah.
Yeah.
What is a firearm? What's a firearm? Okay, sure. Where was the first firearm invented? China? Yeah. Gunpowder is a chemical that easily catches fire and is extremely flammable or inflammable, right?
Yeah.
A firearm is any weapon that uses gunpowder, also known as a gun. Gunpowder was invented in China during the 9th century. The first firearm was also invented in China, but during the 13th century. Early guns were extremely inaccurate and often caused harm to the person using them. That top one, right, that top one in the picture there, that's a very early gun. Don't know how they used it. Maybe there's just gunpowder, there's a rock on one side and gunpowder on the other. It's very early gun, right? And they were inaccurate. It was hard to hit things with them, and they usually hurt the person trying to use them. It took a long time to perfect firearms. A handgun can be held and fired with one hand. A rifle is for long-distance shooting and far more accurate than a handgun, but difficult to use in close quarters, right? If you want to hit something far away, it's better to have a rifle. But if you're in the middle of a gunfight in a very closed-in areas, it's better to have a handgun. Caliber refers in inches to the diameter of a gun barrel. So a .22 caliber gun can kill someone, but is more likely to just wound someone. It's a very small caliber, meaning the projectiles that come out of it are small. Usually a bullet fired from a .22 caliber gun will not exit the body. So if you shoot someone with it, it usually won't come out the other side. It'll get lodged somewhere inside. A .38 caliber is the most popular for handguns and will usually be fatal if fired correctly. A .44 caliber will blow a big hole in somebody, and it's the largest caliber for handguns. But it will have a big recoil. What's recoil?
Power.
Yeah, it's very powerful, right? So it'll shoot your hand back like that. A shotgun is very high caliber, but not accurate. It doesn't fire a single bullet, but many small metal beads. If one was shot in the head at point-blank range with a shotgun, there would be nothing left of his or her head. So they're very powerful, but not very accurate. If I fired a shotgun at that back door, I might not hit the person because the beads just explode everywhere. But if you fire a shotgun up close, you're going to do a lot of damage. An automatic weapon is one that will fire multiple rounds when the trigger is squeezed. A semi-automatic weapon will only fire one round at a time, but does not need to be cocked every time it's fired. So automatic, like, right? It just keeps shooting. Semi-automatic, bang, 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 right? Every time you pull the trigger, it'll shoot once. Assault rifles. They changed the definition of assault rifles, but I'm going to give you my definition of assault rifles, the old definition of assault rifles. Are military-grade weapons. The two most common assault rifles are the M16 and the AK47. Assault rifles are automatic weapons and usually illegal for civilians, right? So in the U.S., a country that you're allowed to own guns, you're still not allowed to have an M16 or an AK-47. The AK-47 was designed in Russia and is the standard weapon for soldiers in many countries. It is fully automatic, higher caliber than an M16, but not very accurate. The M16 was designed in the US, and many soldiers are assigned this weapon in many countries. The M16 can be used in automatic and semi-automatic mode. It's much more accurate than an AK-47, but it's not as powerful as an AK-47. So if given a choice, I would choose an M16. Jason, that's me, can hit a target over 300 yards away with an M16. I was in the Army, and I was a really good shot. So I could hit about 300 meters away, I could hit you. If I had an M16, not a handgun or a shotgun. I could kill you from far away. Random image.
How are you?
All right. What did you learn today? Gun. You learned to be or not to be? Okay, I think this picture's funny, right? It's a toilet, a urinal to pee in, right? And it says, do not drink this water. And it says, stupid people, gotta let them know, I guess. And this one's funny too. Alcohol, you're doing it wrong. Okay. Any questions about this? Any questions? No? Yeah? How to buy a gun in America? It's different states have different laws. It depends on where you live. Let's say on average, most states you could go in and buy a rifle and take it home that day. But a handgun, they need to do a criminal background check. So you have to fill out paperwork and then they send it away and maybe you need to wait 3 weeks. I don't know, because it's harder to conceal it. People, when you're carrying a rifle, people can tell. When you're carrying a handgun, you can hide it, right? That's my guess. And you can use it in close quarters, right? Basically, people know you got a rifle. They won't always know you have a handgun.
So which state is the easiest?
I'm not sure. Texas is pretty easy. Wyoming's pretty easy. Some of the real hard ones are, it depends on politics. The more conservative areas are easier. The more liberal areas are harder. So California and New York have a lot of gun laws, whereas maybe Texas has less gun laws.
In what circumstances can you use gun?
If someone breaks into your house, you're legally allowed to kill them.
You just can use your gun in your house, but you cannot take it.
Usually, yeah, it depends on the state. Like in California, I go hiking. In California, if I'm on a trail and someone attacks me, it might be better to let them attack me because I'll get in trouble if I kill them. I mean, I would still kill them, but I might go to jail for that. But if you're in like Texas, nah, that's cool. If someone attacks you, you can shoot them. But almost every state, if someone breaks into your house while you're there and you feel your life is in danger, you can shoot them. But different states have, a lot of states are very different.
Is it illegal to buy a gun?
No, not allowed to have AK47s. Those are you can't have automatic weapons. At least I think in most states you can't. You can, some of them maybe short burst, but nothing fully automatic, right? Because that's not for hunting. That's not for self-defense. That's for war. So civilians can't have those, right?
Can you take your gun outside?
Some states you can. Some, like California, is very hard to do that. Some states you don't need a permit. You can carry your gun as long as it's showing. Some states you need a permit. Some states you can carry it concealed where no one knows you have it, but you need a permit for that. So every state is different because they have their own laws.
Is it illegal to buy a gun?
No, it's legal in most states to buy a gun, but usually if you've been in trouble, you've been to jail, you can't buy a gun, right? If you've gotten in trouble, a felony where you went to jail, you can no longer buy a gun. All right, any more questions?